In this video tutorial, I'm going to be going over the kinds of conditional statements that are present in C++ and many other programming languages in general. So, what is a conditional statement? A conditional statement is a kind of statement or a block of code that executes something or does something under a certain condition. So, let's say you're making a recipe, or you're following a recipe rather, and you put too much sugar inside of the cake or some other dish that you're making, it's gonna turn out to be too sweet. So if that were to happen, you'd throw the dish out, or else you would keep it and enjoy it, whatever. It's another good example of how conditional statements in general work, okay? So first, I want you to take down some notes so that you'll be able to know what conditional statements there are. The type of conditional statements exist. So the most obvious and conditional statements there is are if statements. If I can type correctly. If statements are conditional statements that allow the programmer, or allow the user rather, to check a certain condition, and if that condition evaluates to true, it executes the first condition that the programmer has already implied. Otherwise, it's gonna break off the if condition. So another example of a conditional statement would be switch statements. Switch statements are, you can think of them as a more advanced version of an if statement, because switches look at only one case rather than multiple like if statements do, and I'll show you what I mean in other videos, because I will be going over each of the following statements in other videos in the future, so please stay tuned for that. Also, loops are conditional statements, and I'll have a bunch of videos on loops later on, and so don't forget about those, okay? So while loops are also another conditional statement, because let's say you have a condition, for example, while number is less than 10, set this value equal to this one, or execute this method, whatever condition you want to think of. All right, so let me give you an example of that in a little bit. So while loops, for loops are also a really useful conditional statement, because for loops, they basically loop until a certain condition is completed. For example, let's say you start at 1, and then you want the loop to keep looping or keep repeating itself until, let's say, it iterates 10 times, okay? The loop will continue to iterate under a certain condition. Think of like math. In math, there is a sigma notation. The bottom number is the starting number, and the top number is the end number. So you want the loop to iterate the amount of times until the ending number. That's what for loops do. Otherwise, if you want to break out of the loop for any reason, you would type in the word break later. So there are a bunch of other conditional statements that are great and really helpful, but I will have to go over those later on. So I'm gonna work on one starting right now. I'm gonna show you the format at least of what they look like. Okay, so first off, let's start with if statements. So if you type the word if, the keyword will pop up, and then condition, and then right here, for example, I'm just gonna create a bunch of single line comment. Cute. This condition. Alright, and then so that's what the format of an if statement looks like, except for all these single line comment forward slashes that I made. Okay, so I'm only doing this for the purpose, for demonstrational purposes, so keep that in mind. Next, we're gonna be going over while loops. While condition. Alright, and then you would put a curly brace after that to mark the ending of the body of the loop. And there's another conditional statement that is actually pretty useful when creating games and other programs. It's called a do while loop. Do while loops check the condition once. For a brief definition of it, do while loops do the condition at least one time before checking the condition altogether. So let's say, for example, do, and then I would do something like this. While do, hold on, cn. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So basically what this is doing over here, it's checking the condition, or checking the statement, whatever how you like to call it, at least once before it checks the condition on the while part of the while loop. Okay, so those are pretty good. So this video is just basically a whole review on what conditional statements are existent in C++ and many other programming languages and programming in general, because using those statements is a really good use of logic, because like I said, if you have something, then you would use that logic to create programs that are sort of like that. So also try to keep that in mind. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you have a great day and thank you for watching. Alright, bye bye.